Back at Morwellham Quay, Ruth's cooking up a treat for their return. Sheep's head stew.
This is one of the most gruesome things I've ever had to do. Now, the recipe I'm using comes from this fantastic little booklet called The Best Way. The cheapest cookery book in the world, it says. After preparing the head in the usual way, put it in a stew pan with the tongue and cover with the water. That whole sentence, prepare the sheep's head in the usual way, it really points out what a common dish this was for the less well-off. Unsurprisingly, the head of the sheep is pretty much the cheapest cut on it. So if you've got to buy meat, or if you have got beasts and you need to sell most of them on, this is pretty much the cheapest cut. There is quite a lot of meat on it, though. Funny enough, in the Edwardian period, people were doing this a little bit less than they had before. Ship technology and refrigeration technology began to make it possible for meat to be brought halfway around the world. And frozen lamb from Australia and New Zealand began to become the sheep meat of most ordinary Britons rather than our native, homegrown sheep. Because with New Zealand lamb being cheaper, you could actually have a lump, a joint, for the same sort of price as you might have for something like a head. This sort of idea of getting as much as possible out of a really small amount of meat is such a theme through Edwardian cooking. People are mostly living on really starchy, solid things like large bowls of potato, lots of bread, lots of oatmeal, which is cheap and fills you up. But of course, it's a really, really bland, boring diet. So a little bit of meat, even if it's something like a sheep's head, just adds so much flavour into these really, really boring, stodgy basics.
The exhausted boys have returned to the cottage. It's a chance to catch up with Ruth over the sheephead stew.
How'd it go?
Very well, thank you.
Very well, actually. Remarkably well.
I have to say, Ruth, your rug looks tasty, but I'm not so sure about that.
I'm not normally queasy about food, but I've got to say...
Well, I did wonder about taking the head out and not telling you what was in it.
Oh, dear.
But then I thought, I don't know, they're big tough boys.
How cruel.
So, tell me about this line then.
To be honest, there wasn't that much to see after the loading other than an awful lot of smoke. But the stuff we're getting out the bottom seems to be top-notch.
Yeah, we've got some pretty good lime, actually. So you pleased to have the cottage up and running now?
Oh, I certainly am. It's marvellous when we get on with things.
It certainly looks a lot more homely than it did the first time you stepped in here.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Nice and warm as well, actually. That range is really kicking out.
Yeah,
I can feel that there. I
can.
can feel that heat there on my hand.
It's pretty good. I sort of feel now, you know, a month under our belts, it's all ready to start, isn't it?
We've got all sorts of enterprises we've got to start kicking off. I mean, one of the big things, certainly in the Edwardian period, was this market garden. So we've really got to get our heads around that and how we're going to approach that in the coming months.
Cheers.
So we've got our rick, we've got all our hay there. You know, we are ready to start getting some more livestock in, and we're kind of prepped for winter, almost.
Well, we've got the team all assembled, so Edwardian Britain, here we come.
Yeah, it's great to be back in the saddle.
Well, it's all here. It's just a case of bringing it back to life.